The outer edge ombre, I'm telling you, it's gonna blow your mind. I just saw this nail, it's ridiculous. Greg's gonna show you how to do it right now.
Ombre has always been a challenge for most nail technicians, and it's even more of a challenge when you're trying to do it from the outside in. I'm gonna show you guys the proper technique on doing an outer edge ombre. It's almost like a picture with a hollow center. Right? I'm gonna build the nails out and I'm gonna show you the proper technique in order to achieve the design with perfection. All right, I'm gonna begin by replicating pushing back the cuticles. Right? And then once we're done doing that, I'm going to be using a arbor band to remove the shine gently from the surface of the nail, right? So I'm going to be running my electric file at 3,000 RPMs, a very gentle speed, and all I want to be able to do is lightly feather away the shine, right, from corner to corner, right? So notice I'm going around the perimeter, and then what I'm going to do is lightly tickle away the shine from corner to corner. I'm going to do the same thing on the other finger. I like to work in one direction. I'm not going side to side. Notice as I'm coming down in a slow motion, I'm literally going like this. But as I move quickly with a light feathering motion, what I'm able to do is cover a lot of surface area quickly, right? So I want you to just feather it off. The amount of pressure you're going to be using on the nail is just like you're tickling the underside of your wrist. It's a very gentle pressure. And then you're going to clean it with swipe to remove all the oils and contaminants from the surface of the natural nail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the surface. I'm just going to clean all the dust from the top. All right, so once we're done doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Protein Bond, and I'm going to apply a nice even coat from cuticle to free edge. I'm going to do this on all 10 nails, right? Right, we're assuming we're working on a full set. So after you're done doing all 10 fingernails, I'm going to go back and I'm going to apply another coat. All right, once you apply a second coat, all right, you are done and ready for application. All right, so I'm going to be building a couple of nice almond-shaped nails. I want to be able to build the free edges first, so I'm going to be able to establish not only the length, but the shape of the tip. This is going to set me up so that I could do the perfect overlay. I'm going to get my form. I'm going to pre-pinch my tip. What I want to be able to do is get this on, and then I'm going to go ahead and secure the side, right? All right, I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. I want to pick up the bead, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the excess on the towel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this right to the form, wipe my brush. Then I'm going to use the body of the brush and walk it from the surface to the corner. Notice how I'm keeping it at an angle, but I'm walking it from the top of the bead so that I could walk it up to the corner with precision. Then notice how I'm keeping everything in balance, in center, as I'm walking it from side to side. I want to try to create that nice almond-shaped tip. All right, boom. So once we have this established, then I'm going to go on to the next finger. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this in form, making sure that everything is absolutely nice and straight. Then I'm going to go to this side. I'm going to submerge my brush again, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to drain my bead. It's going to turn it nice and matte finish, just like this. Again, I'm going to come in, I'm going to set this to the tip, I'm going to wipe my brush, I'm going to walk the bead, I'm going to walk the bead with the body of the brush from the top, right? Notice how I get it even and then I walk from the top, walk it from the top. So I'm putting pressure on the top so that I can get it to the corner. So what I'm really trying to do when I'm forming my free edge is I'm literally trying to maintain that really, really nice almond form, right? It's gonna be really easy for me to overlay if I have this great shape. Stretching this out, making it nice and even, putting this all into great form before we do our beautiful overlay. All right. And I'm trying to keep this as nice and tight and flush to the natural nail as I possibly can. All right, so as you can see, I have all the tips built out. Now, here's the thing. If you build out all 5 tips, you have about, I'd say, a 3-minute window. If you needed to come in and kind of pinch the free edge, right, to give it a little bit more C-curve, you have that flexibility. And it's the advantage of actually building the tip first. You'll be able to come in and actually create that really, really nice, C-curve. You have that choice, and again, it's around the 3-minute mark. All right, so what I want to do is I want to submerge my brush, and I'm going to get a nice bead. Once I pick this up, I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, then at the 4 count, I'm going to go ahead and set that to the cuticle area. I'm going to use the tip of my brush, walk around the perimeter of the nail as the bead starts running down. Notice how I pull from the sides and the front of the bead, from the sides and the front of the bead, so everything flows towards the tip with a beautiful upper arch. I'm not going to start dragging it from the center, literally from this corner, the side, from the front, and then here, while the finger is pointing down. And what this is going to do is it's going to shape the natural apex without you having to, push it into shape with the body of your brush. I'm going to keep working this all the way through. And then what I'm going to do is whatever is remaining, whatever is actually missing, I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. Tap off any excess liquid, and I'm going to set this backwards in between where the acrylic and that space is, and then use the body of my brush to walk it down and fill the space in the tip. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to bounce, 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 bounce. 1, 2, 3, at 4, I'm going to set this down, immediately start touching around the cuticle area as the bead starts to run. Right here at the corner, start to feather it down. Right here at the corner, start to feather it down, and then start feathering from the front of the bead. Right? If it starts to run down past, you could always take the wedge of your brush and just get underneath it to kind of pull down so that it doesn't get on the skin. But notice how well the upper arch shapes without me having to force it. It's going to do it on its own. And then again, notice all the pressure. I'm literally pulling from here. I'm not pulling from back here. I'm pulling from the front, allowing this to shape by itself. All right, so once we actually have that shaped out, I need to fill that space right here. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Take out the excess. I'm going to set my brush backwards right in between that body area and the tip, and then use the body of the brush just to lightly walk it down. If I need to wipe my brush to pull out some of the moisture, I can do that, and that's going to help you get that really nice clay-like consistency so that you can shape it into perfection. All right, once we actually have this filled, once the shape is well sculpted, then what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry. We're going to file this into perfection, and then we're going to start the outer edge ombre design. I'm going to protein bond the surface of the enhancement so that we don't get any chipping with our paint and top coats. Just around the edges, just like that. And that is just going to add a little bit of security around the edges, create a nice anchor so that don't have any flaking or chipping around the perimeter of the enhancement. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a tile, and then I'm gonna get Overdrive, which is our black gel paint. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to be working with a makeup sponge, right? An inexpensive one, something that I'm going to be able to dab the perfect fade around the edge of the enhancement. I'm going to dab the surface of the paint, and then I'm just gonna kind of work it off of the surface. You can see right here on the tile. I'm just gonna try to get it nice and light. Just kind of loading the tip up. And then what I wanna be able to do is I just kind of wanna start working around the perimeter really, really light. I don't want to start attacking it with too much pigment, but all I'm trying to do is just darken up my edges. And then I'm just going to start working around the perimeter. If you get some onto the skin, that's okay. You can clean it up after you're done. You can see I'm just lightly working it around. The nice thing about the makeup sponge with the pointed tip is you have a lot of control around the perimeter in those tight areas. Just lightly kind of fade it around the edges, right? And then the areas that don't have a lot of paint, I can use those to kind of dampen the edges to make them super, super soft. So what I'm trying to do is just establish a really, really nice perimeter. Looks good. If I need more paint, I could come back, continue to kind of dab off the excess and just work around the perimeter to create that really, really nice kind of picture center. Once I actually have it established, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get it inside the light, and we're going to freeze this first layer. And then what we can start to do is just add more richness around the edge. That looks good. Really start to create that nice ombre effect around the perimeter without making it look too harsh. The great thing is you could always take the back end of the sponge and just kind of work out any imperfections there are in the middle. All right, so once we actually have that created again, I'm gonna go inside the light and freeze it for 10 seconds before we start adding a little bit more richness around the edge. So if I really wanna highlight those edges, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tip of my gel brush, and then I'm just going to kind of lightly kind of dab around the perimeter, as you can see. And I want to try to remove a majority of the paint from the tip of the brush. And I'm just kind of pressing into the back so it makes those back edges look really, really intense. It's gonna add a lot of really, really fine detail to the design. Good. Go ahead and get it inside the light. Once we have the fade created, what I'm going to do is take the Ultimate Finish Gel, going to apply this to the surface, and we're going to create a matte look. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to get this on. We're going to get it inside the light. I'm going to cure this for 1 minute. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, once it comes out of the light, I'm going to use Swipe, and then I'm gonna be using this just to kind of clean up around the skin. It's just gonna come right off. I'm going to wipe the surface down. Now, what we're gonna do to kind of create that really matte look, because obviously it's shiny, is I'm going to take a fine buffer, and I'm just going to lightly buff the surface. And what this is going to do as well, it's going to create that really beautiful kind of diffusion from the middle. It's going to look like the fade is flawless. Lightly buffing it with a super fine buffer. You can use the 180 or the 240 buffer just to go over the surface. All right. And when we wipe it off, when we let it dry, you're gonna see how nice everything kind of fades towards the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on the other nail, and we're gonna leave that one shiny so that you could see what the difference looks like between matte and a shiny look.
Thank you so much for watching our nail videos. To check out more, head right over here, and to subscribe to our channel, click right over here.